Marae Rigel, and you're tuned in to The Mo Show, where I aspire to inspire your mind, body, and soul. And as you guys can see, I'm back with another one. I have two special guests here. My cousin and my sister, Toria and Veronique. And we are here to talk about ADHD in adulthood, because that's a topic that not a lot of people would know about. A lot of more people may be familiar with ADHD in childhood or even being diagnosed in childhood. So we're going to hear from these two ladies about their experience about ADHD in adulthood and being diagnosed in adulthood. And yeah. So when were you diagnosed, Veronique?
I was actually diagnosed in 2018, right before I actually started working. I knew that there was something. I was actually out of being in denial that there was something different, and actually went to get help. And so when I went to the psychiatrist, I was diagnosed in 2018.
Is that what you thought before you went? Did you think it was ADHD?
I did. Mm-hmm. I did, because I had a hard time focusing, organization, all of that. It was just like it was blatantly there. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, look, I just need some help with this. So
in 2018, were your kids diagnosed by then too?
No.
Neither.
My kids wasn't diagnosed until right after the pandemic. So I'd say 2021.
Oh, okay. So more recently for that too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Toria, when were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed October 2021, so when your kids were at the fresh age of 29.
Fresh.
And what prompted me to seek medical assistance is basically all my life I was told, I've always been like real high energetic, real very straight and direct and forward, real like my life is like organized chaos to others looking on the outside looking in, but that's just always been traits of mine. But after being diagnosed, I realized that was really symptoms of ADHD. But the straw that broke the camel's back was when I was at work, and I've always known I couldn't focus, but I didn't know that everyone should be able to focus. I didn't know that was not a thing for everybody. I'm like, dang, that's crazy. But when I was making clerical errors at my job, and it was becoming like more frequent, and I guess due to part of it being at home working, and there's like other distractions going around, so I kept making errors, and then I'm like, I am literally trying to do this work. I'm trying my hardest. Like, why can I not focus, and why am I making the same mistakes? So then I'm like, something's wrong. Like, this can't be normal, because I'm like, I wasn't doing this when we was working in the office. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, let me go see him. So I started like Googling. I had like a little inkling that I had. Well, I've always like maybe like self-diagnosed myself, but I'm like, okay, if I've said this for a while, let me go get an actual diagnosis. So because this is like hindering my job, and I don't want to get fired, so let me go get some help so that I can save my job.
Okay. Yes. So can you define clinically ADHD? And this is like so ironic, the clinician asking you guys to define clinically ADHD, and then you can talk about like what that looks like for you and how that may be different between the two of you, and maybe between Veronique, you and your kids.
I just know that it's a difference between a neurotypical brain, so someone who doesn't have challenges with focusing or concentration. So I would say, according to Attitude, it says people with ADHD has trouble with impulse control, focusing, organization, and that is so me. So like me cutting people off, blurting out. Sorry, I do have an issue with that.
Exhibit A.
Focusing, definitely focusing on this, and then organization. But like you said, organized chaos. Like it may look like, oh my gosh, this chaos to you, but I know where everything is.
And it makes sense to us.
Right.
Like how can you live like that? It makes sense to me.
It makes sense, right. So
I have a question. Like with your clinical background, what do they tell you that what is
your
a
lot of times ADHD is really spoke about in children. And you know how, like, of course everybody grows up, if you're alive, you're gonna grow up to be an adult with ADHD. But I personally hadn't until I took that certification course, or the continuing education course about ADHD and what it can look like in adults. We just really get trained on how to see it in kids, and I know that a lot more boys are diagnosed in girls, and you're diagnosed generally before you're like 6 or 7. So at a young age, you know, you can see that in kids, and it's a lot of the hyperactivity. The girls usually have more, just they don't have more girls don't have the hyperactivity. No, not even the talking too much.
That's a trait. That is a trait.
I know. I'm saying as kids, in the school, boys have the hyperactivity. The girls may just be like just a hot. You may see her like a little hot mess in the classroom.
And they overlook that as like defiant or like not listening to the teacher. And so when I think about my childhood, it brings me back to that. Like I was a hot mess.
Because girls, I mean, they're you know, they can quickly say, oh, that's that in boys, and girls they don't. They really don't. You gloss over it, or you glance over it, and you don't. You can become undiagnosed because
especially if you have good grades. That's another thing, because I've always had great grades. It was like ADHD, like yes, like, but that's one of the things that they overlook. Like, that's not ADHD because it's predominantly in boys.
Yeah,
I had okay grades, but I realized. I mean, I didn't fail or nothing, but I didn't care to have like perfect grades. Like I tried, but. Again, like the motivation, I didn't care. And so also, like, we lack dopamine, and that means that, hold on, let me look at my little article. Basically, the dopamine helps us to have, like, to move and do stuff, our memory, and our pleasurable reward and motivation. So, if I don't have any of those to do things, I'm not going to do it.
Motivated.
Yeah, so we have to physically, like, have outside things to fix that in our brains. Like, you know, most people can wake up and say, hey, today I'm gonna clean the house, do this, go this and this. If we wake up and we don't take our meds, we not. It's just a free for all. Whatever pops in my head, I'm just gonna jump from here to here to here.
And I think even like as a kid, for you just being attributed, like she's a middle child, so you know they already have a middle.
Oh, she got middle child syndrome.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you do have a lot of typical characteristics of a middle child.
It's like it gets overlooked by different things. Like it could be, but like when you have to learn how to separate like what it actually is, and like okay, so these are also traits of this. So let's see like how many more traits of ADHD. That's we should have did that.
But also differences in like in not comparing, and I don't know like. Not comparing your children because one is, you know, wild child or organized chaos, and then one is more rigid, structured, and motivated by getting a good grade or something like that. Like, instead of just looking at it like the cliche of like, you know, of personality traits, I guess it could have been looked into more of like a medical diagnosis.
But crazy thing is, now that I know this is what, like, me finding out as an adult, it's a whole identity crisis. Because I'm thinking, I thought they were my personality traits. It's probably not my personality. Like, I don't even know who I am as a person. Like,
but you know, I use ADHD as a superpower.
Yes.
It is. Because I can be so fixated on something one time, and I will stay on it until I want to. Or I can have so many creative ideas. Like, I when people will be meeting at work, I would think of things outside the box, and I'm like, dang, I had to think of that. So I look at it as a different.
Yes, we can't. Yes, and so people think that our ways are wrong, or they want to overlook what our suggestions we bring because they can't see it how we see it. And I've had that happen a lot. Like even like at work, I'll give an idea. And they will go, cause they'll go with like we know what we're doing, But instead of being open to a new approach, they're like, no, we're not gonna do that. But my idea's not bad. You just don't see it how I see it, and then you won't even let me explain.
Or the way you explain it doesn't make sense to someone else too.
And that's where I can't say that I have a hard time. I don't know if it's ADHD or other
I think it is. I know what I'm trying to say, but I can't get it out.
Right, that is my whole thing. It's like I have it here, but getting it out for you to understand is a big challenge for me. But I want to back up a little bit. When you said middle child syndrome, because I'm the oldest, tell me what is that like? Because I don't.
Well, typical middle child syndrome is like it's like the saying, the oldest, I'm the one who makes the rules. The middle one, I'm the reason why we have the rules. The youngest one, I'm the
rules
one.
Don't apply to you.
The rules don't apply to me. Yeah, like that kind of thing.
And like knowing, like me, I'm the reason why there was rules. That don't mean I follow them, but I'm the reason.
Right, not necessarily a rule follower, more of a like rebellious soul as a compare. I mean, and I guess oldest child is supposed to be like more responsible, really responsible, and youngest is supposed to be like spoiled or, you know, whatever the case may be. But middle child, or even like overlooked or not forgotten, but like overlooked in certain aspects. Like they just kind of skate on through life. Nobody's really paying that much attention.
Yeah, that's why they didn't diagnose me. Because
I was going to say,
I forgot about me.
Oh, wait, no, y'all, I wasn't a parent. But I was going to say, you said it may not be personality things, but I was just trying to think like,
Because literally I've been this way all my life.
yes,
so,
but I mean, Daddy would have some, I don't think he was ADHD, but he had some characteristics.
He could have
like,
ADD.
I mean, he could, but just because you're more laid back, chill, or don't really care to be super
genetics.
organized.
I'm wondering. I'm like, I don't see that in my mom. So I'm like,
it does have genetics that plays a big part into it.
Well, there's no way to dig. You gotta dig them up. What
you can. So there's another thing about me is I love genealogy.
Okay.
I love it. And so when you find out who different people are, you'll find out different characteristics of different things.
Yeah, I was gonna say we never. Do you have? I mean, we are cousins, guys.
Right.
But do you have anyone in your immediate family, or not? Like not immediate, but.
Okay, so my mother does have ADHD, and actually my sister and brother as well. But I'm the only one who actually has
it.
Yes, but I'm the only one who's actually went to go see a psychiatrist to actually get help and get onto medication.
Because you can self-diagnose yourself.
So let's move. Well, I was gonna say the next question is about ADHD and parenting, but let's just broaden it up to like family. So with everybody, you guys have completely different experiences. You have no one in your immediate family, and you have everyone in your immediate family with ADHD. How does that? But you're the only one who's
actually diagnosed with it.
Yeah, and taking the steps.
It's difficult. It's challenging, but I can say, I don't know. I kind of want to go back. So when I went and got my degree in psychology, I started learning more about myself.
And so looking in the mirror, ain't it?
It is. And so even when I had got into ADHD, learning more about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so me. Or I can see it in different family members. And so like, especially when it comes to concentration, that is a big thing among my mom, my sister, my brothers. We all, when it comes to focusing, it's so hard for us to focus.
Here.
Right, we're all over the place.
I have a little metaphor for that. That was on my thing. What it's like to have ADHD. It's like your brain is the web browser with 72 tabs open all the time.
Yes.
And neurotypical people, they can close them tabs and work through them one by one.
Ooh, that's me. I got to get all checked.
Yes.
I got to.
And I wish I want to. I
have to.
And like you know how they say like, oh, we forget things. Like you literally say I could be like brushing my teeth and you know just zoning out, thinking about all the things I have to do. So I stop and go do it because I don't want to forget it. And then I'm doing that. Then I find something else. So I'm hopping to the other thing.
And your teeth ain't brushed.
And no, for real. And then like you're like, what was I initially doing?
Right.
And then like, oh shoot, well I started. So you're literally running back and forth. Like, oh I forgot. You got 11 different projects started. All because that one thought triggered all them.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, and I don't know, I can't speak for everyone with the neurotypical mind, but I do have all of those thoughts in my head when I'm doing. I don't stop to go do them, but I do have all of those thoughts.
And that's the thing. We can't
impulse.
Right. Well, because the response inhibitors, like we have to act on them. You can stop yours. Ours is impaired. That's why we have to act on them.
Right. Or I'm gonna forget.
I mean, I may forget too, but I can't go into every direction. I can. So
one thing I've heard this lady say that she does. She actually have a notebook in her bathroom, and that she uses. So like when she's in the shower, you know when you're trying to get the brightest not.
It shows
up. Or even a whiteboard, so you can kind of like wipe it off.
I like that.
So it's in the bathroom because it's paper.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So then you can write all that stuff down while you're in the restroom. So you like it gets it out of here onto paper.
And I will run by the bed, wherever you're going.
And I have those like writing it down. It literally helps. And it also helps me with my memory. I mean, like I may forget to like do the tasks, but I know that the tasks are there. I'm not going to forget what the tasks are. So I can always come back, and then I can actually cross it off. But I have to get it out. Like a brain dump. That's what.
Okay, so I'm going to focus this back to the original question. ADHD in adulthood with family/parenting.
Oh yeah. I think I said I talked about that with my siblings and mother, but I can say it's extremely hard having ADHD as a mother and also having it in your children, because they're
probably learning together.
Jumping ahead, but
right.
certain
Lord,
now I forgot the word.
Co-morbidity.
That word, that right there. with me having like sensory disorders and stuff like that.
That's how I forgot to put that.
So,
That was in my what it's like to have. We didn't talk about the sensory disorders.
Oh no.
Sorry. Oh,
I'm okay with it. I get it. I totally get it. But so back to parenting. Sorry, we had to focus.
Let me go back to the sensories.
Yes. So it can be challenging. Is what I can say. And a lot of things that I have also anxiety and depression that goes with my ADHD. I do want to look into possibly do I have like autism, and I said that because of the sensory type of things, and I've seen some characteristics in my son that I had wondered, was he ever autistic? Certain things about that too. So it can be so hard, especially so for me. And I tell my kids, I'm being overstimulated. That means if it's too much stimuli, stop.
Yes.
Don't ask me a whole bunch of questions. I'm trying to focus on this one thing.
Oh my gosh.
It will drive me crazy. So literally, I need to focus on one thing at a time. But if you're saying this and I'm trying to do this, I will get overwhelmed.
And we're just going to shut down or explode.
So let's talk, because that's something you brought up too. Let's explain kind of to the viewers about because people listen to anything like,
what is sensory?
like ADHD to autism, that seems like a big jump.
No, not really. They overlap a lot.
They do overlap. But you also got to look at the autism has such a broad spectrum. So it can have
I think the connotation of it, you're like autism, people are not functioning, you can't do this. But so what are some overlapping things with autism and ADHD? So like I was saying, the sensory part. So for me, I don't like loud noises. I don't like when there's a lot of things coming at me, which is why I can't work in like child care and child.
Yeah, in your mind.
Because it's like, oh my gosh, there's too much stuff going on. I need to be still, quiet, so I can focus. So those are some of the things I think with autism. And I don't like certain touches. Like I don't like. Okay, this is something.
That's me too. I don't like certain touches.
I don't like water when it's wet on the floor.
Yes.
It drives me crazy. Or I don't want the water to touch me on the shower.
I will run out that shower real fast. Yes.
I cannot stand it. So certain things I'm like, dang, that's kind of like autism. So that's
yes. Mine are my food touching. And another one I notice is I have carpet and tile in my house. And so my bare feet cannot touch my tile at all. Ever. I gotta have socks or shoes on. It creates like the heebie-jeebies. Like it literally feels like something is wrong. And then also, like children are very affectionate, and I love my child to death. But at times, I cringe when she touches me.
Your child too. I'm serious for real. I mean, but not.
But she doesn't know, so I'm like, it's like the balance of I have to give her love and affection, but I'm like, okay, I can't have you touch me, especially like I think when I don't want to be touched by her is when the time she needs most. She's whining, she's hurt, she's complaining, she's crying out loud, she's being whiny. I see her and I hear her, but then she also wants a hug. I'm overstimulated by all of that. I can't handle it, and I just like. Literally freeze, like it's a lot. So so now I have to tell her, if you want a hug, we have to stop crying, because I can't do both. I can't. It's not.
And for my son, because he's also like that, I'm like, listen, you know how mommy is. I get overstimulated.
Use them words.
Use your words. You have to sit here and say use your words. Let me pause this. I'm gonna give you this hug, but after this hug, please don't bother me.
And the thing about that is,
that's what you wanted was the hug.
And that's frustrating. The thing about that is like the thing about focus is either we are too focused or not focused. So
yes.
It's very easy for us to lose focus, but very hard to gain focus. So that's when like once we got it, we in the zone. Like please don't interrupt. Literally, it's like 50-50 of both sides. Whew.
Not bad. Okay, I don't know.
Parenting.
Parenting. Parenting. It's not really hard for me, just besides like the sensory stuff and like talking to my therapist, and also like again seeing like my traits and then like how I probably was as a child. I do see like I don't know if there's early signs of ADHD in children, or if it's just signs. I see signs of ADHD in my daughter, and I talked about it with my therapist. I was like, I thought, like all kids are hyper.
What signs do you see?
I'm about to tell her. I thought all kids are hyper. I thought all kids like to run around. And then she was like, well, if like say like they're at school and they're watching a movie, she does not cannot sit there and watch the movie. I'm like, what? I thought it was just a kid thing. And so me seeing that, I'm like, dang, that's what everybody probably did to me. Is like, it's just a kid thing. Like, she can't, and she can't be still. And kids can be still, like at least 5 minutes. Like, she cannot, unless she's doing like something like playing with her dolls. Like, she has to be moving around. And so that's like and she is bored easily, so if it's not interesting to her. So it's like she can like reading books, but if she don't like that book, she like, I don't want,
Coming from someone who works with kids every day and works with kids her, well, like, I guess a year older than age, I don't see anything, like, I see a lot of kids, majority of the kids who don't sit down, who don't focus, like, who, I know your therapist said most kids can. The kids I see, which is over 100 at that age, they're all pretty much not.
But every day, they probably have their.
But also, and you know, you live with her. That's your daughter. I haven't seen her. Like, I've seen her be able to sit down and play by herself for a
But
long
she's
time.
doing what she like. When you're hyper focused on stuff you like, you can do that. Like, that's what it is. Like, she's doing something that interests her. So when she's playing with her dolls, she's focused on those dolls and that stuff because that's what interests her.
I agree, and I mean, it's nothing wrong to get, you know, her tested.
I'm not getting her tested because it ain't no matter right now. School, when she's in school age, there'll be more eyes on it.
I mean, but it would be better to have something preventative than.
But I don't need it right now.
But also, like I said,
it's not affecting anything right now.
I don't think she.
Well, and that was the thing that I was kind of afraid of, because I didn't want it to be like a stigma that stayed with my children. So, like, even though, yes, my child was diagnosed and she did start medication, I didn't get like an IEP or a 504 for her, you know, for something to stay with her. We did have it at like the summer camp, but it was called a
because every kid's not going to need
success
it
plan.
Yeah,
right. But it's certain things I just didn't want it to stay.
Things can be managed at home. We have even some kids in school, and not even like just like comparing like ADHD or like diabetes or asthma. Some kids have asthma at school. They don't need to go to the nurse at certain times. They know when they can manage it on their own without having to be like, oh, I need a set plan for this. They know if this happens, I need to do this. Or with their diabetes, they take their medicine, you know, before or after school. Certain things that don't affect school, and even ADHD may be a thing that does not affect kids in school.
Because my child, honey, she was all over the place. Matter of fact, Marie, if you probably didn't put that on there, she'd probably be trying to figure out something else that she could do. Like, legit, because she's so like, I need something to do. Another thing, she likes to chew on stuff. That's another like
the fidget.
The fidget. Yes. She has to fidget. She cannot sit down in the chair. That's why I have one of my chairs broken at home, and because she
like flex, well, like in school they call it flex eating, but like
if
basketball or the
right.
But
I make you stand. If you want to sit here and lean, you need to stand. You're not breaking no
You
more
lean back, you stand up and lean.
Yes.
Lean to the side.
Stand up and eat your food. That's what you know.
And that's also an ADHD thing too. I didn't know that. It was like standing up and eating. I've never noticed it. Like I don't sit down and eat. And then it's like, why are you not sitting? I'm like, I can't. I don't know what it is. I can't sit down.
Like for me, I
gotta
like
move.
to sit on the floor.
Yes,
and people think that it's so weird. I will sit on the floor.
Yeah.
I love the floor.
No.
It works.
And I think it's like, maybe it's like literally like grounding, like we're close.
It
like
is. ADHD and employment.
Not
No,
you already know why I'm
So I guess I'll go first with the ADHD and employment. It was hard in a sense for me to get accommodations. I was so blessed that I did have a therapist that went to bat for me, because things that I wasn't able to advocate for myself that I needed as far as accommodations, they were able to put it in writing for it to happen. And the question that comes up, do you disclose or do you not disclose? And it's like,
so when you're saying that accommodations, things you didn't know you needed or you didn't know how to advocate for, like you did know you needed those things.
Okay. Both, because I'm struggling. So I was in case management, and I always struggled with getting my notes in on time. That was my big. I was damn good at my job. I knew how to relate to people. I knew how to talk to people. When you come to talk my notes, girl, messing with that. But I love what I do because I love helping people.
Right.
But trying to write out what it is someone had did, it was a challenge. And so sometimes, and we had to have it in within 24 hours. It was a challenge. So if they said I can have extra time, that'd be great. Or for me, because I get easily distracted, I would need to be in an enclosed space so I wouldn't get distracted with people coming through, because I'm gonna say hi, I'm gonna talk, this
any sounds,
any type of sound. So for me, another combination was I had to have a quiet area. Even if most of the higher ups had offices, but I would find an office or something that was not being used so I can focus and get my stuff done. That was like another accommodation.
They should have gave you an accommodation to where you did it in the computer, to where you could talk to type.
Technically they did, but
okay, never mind.
they had the dragon, and I trained on it, but I didn't have a chance.
No, I'm saying like talk, like you talking. I love it.
What's a dragon?
It's like a thing you put on the computer. Like mama just write books.
Yeah. So
like the app.
You see, your mama used to write books.
Yeah. Girl, she did it at one point.
So it's old.
Yeah.
I've never heard
different versions of the dragon. So you literally is just talking to this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know voice text, but
yes, it's the same thing, but
it's more like professional.
Yes.
Okay, because this woman gonna audio file me too.
And I told you why I got to, because if I'm gonna get it all out, texting it, I'm gonna be jumping from here to here. Me saying, like me talking right now, I can just get it out. Me having to type, my fingers don't type as fast as my brain is working.
Although I'm still the opposite. I'll sit here all day and try to figure out what I'm trying to say, and if I get pissed off and mad, I forget I don't have nothing to say. But yes, it's, and I wonder why I don't. But I've known other ADHDers who like to talk. It makes it easier.
It definitely does, because it's short and sweet.
But the thing is, the thing get all extra. It bothers me because I'm like, that's not the word I said.
No. We're doing actual voice, like
voice message.
It sends a message.
Oh,
yes.
the actual voice talk.
Yes, I know. I do that. I do the talk text. But when I'm driving, I do talk text.
I do it on my watch.
But yeah, the audio file, like where I gotta go in and listen to what she's saying. I'm
yes,
like,
and that's one thing I cannot stand my kids doing, because I'm like, what if I'm still wearing? I don't want nobody.
Put your headphones in. Put your headphones in.
What if I have them?
That's something I can't even listen to.
I stay with mine, or I'll feel like morning.
So I have to wait to hear her audio message to the end of the day or something. I cannot listen. Kids in my office. I mean, granted, I do have AirPods, so I could, but I'm not gonna wear it all day because not these kids. It knocked out my ear, running down the hall. No.
Where at? My employment. See, my employment was what led to me getting my diagnosis. It's more so, like I said, I was in the beginning when I knew something was different or off. I was making a lot of mistakes, and it's basically like. So the process of getting diagnosed, first of all, is an extremely long process. So even though I recognized quickly that I needed help, the help could not arrive quickly. So I'm still having these challenges at work in the meantime. And I can't even tell my boss that this is what I'm going to get tested for. I don't even have an official diagnosis yet to get accommodations. So still struggling, still like, okay, you're making mistakes, I'm like, okay, I don't know what you want me to do. I've told you what's going on. So last May 2021 is when I went and got the referral to see the psychiatrist, and I didn't get until September. So things had gotten bad.
Yeah, seeing specialty doctors takes a while to get into.
See, so May,
unfortunately,
January to May of 2021 was when stuff started escalating quickly, and so that's when I'm like, okay, I gotta go in and get the referral. So then in May I got the referral, and then in September, from May to September, my appointment was in September. I had to endure that. Then even in September, I had to keep going back, doing different appointments, like an evaluation, then do the testing, then come back for the results. And so it wasn't until October where I got the official diagnosis, and I was able to start medication. So even though I'd done all that, and I eventually I had to disclose this to her, so I'm like, don't think that I'm making excuses, because I'm not. And I'm going through the trial and error of medicine, because you don't know. ADHD meds are not one size fits all. It's literally a trial and error. The doses, the type of pill it is, it's literally trial and error. So it's new to me, and I'm pretty sure me telling her this, she never encountered that, is new to her, but she's still a lot of...
the boss.
Yes. It's still a lot of pressure on me, okay, well, even though you said this, you're still responsible. Yes, I know that, but I'm going to need some grace, because I can't make this process work faster. And so it's also I feel like at one point, she really don't even care what I got going on, because I'm telling you I'm informing you and communicating with you of what I got going on, and all you doing is like, why did you make this mistake, or why aren't you doing this, or why haven't you? I'm like, woman, I'm trying to. You are literally following the work procedure of this, and it still doesn't even matter. So then after I do get my diagnosis and I get all the paperwork, it goes and we talk about accommodations. This is new to me. I don't know what I need.
That is another thing, because that's why I said I was so blessed to have the therapist that I had, because I didn't know what accommodations I needed. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I found a lady on YouTube. It's How to ADHD. I love looking at her videos, because one of her videos it talks about accommodations at work and what you can ask for.
I'm gonna go ask for something else, because I even now I still don't know. Like, and then she was like, "Well, I can't accommodate you and help you if I don't know what you, ma'am. I don't know what I need. Like, I can't tell you. This is new." And first of all, I'm at home, so one accommodation, like they always is, like, try to like have a flexible work schedule, like being home. I'm already at home, and at home is already a ton of distractions. So you can tell me to ignore them, but I cannot. My brain cannot ignore them. And then I'm like, I don't know how to ask. I'm like, so I ended up like talking to another person at the company, and come to find out, the lady I talked to, her son had ADHD, and so she was able to like help me to try to see like what to ask. And I'm like, this is all that I know. And so literally me and her went back and forth for months, like this year, going back and forth. I'm like, I'm still learning. And so, and that also we realized that a lot of our things, like we were talking about earlier, she can't see things how I see them. So she would ask me why I would do something this way. It's not necessarily wrong, mm-hmm. but why are you doing it this way? I said, well, it really shouldn't matter, right, because it's done. But how I got to it, if I tell you, you're still not going to understand. Mm-hmm. So now I feel like we are in a good place, but I'm still like communicating more and more, because like it's still, like, again, it's still learning. Yes, and also, so I go back to the psychiatrist again, because let me go back. I only went to a psychiatrist to get diagnosed. They weren't the ones like doing my meds, so I was going to actual primary care, and I had to get out of there because they was making me mad. Like, she was basically trying to say that I was like drug seeking so much, like, so to speak, and so I can't even like get my right dose of medicine because she's not even trying to hear and understand. Basically something like, well, it's not gonna medicine is not gonna fix everything. I was like, I know that, but it will fix the distraction and the focus, the part I need to do my job. And so I was like, I'm just gonna get this new psychiatrist and be done. Mm-hmm. So now I'm waiting on that to see, hopefully this psychiatrist, the actual people that specialize in this, will be able to help me be even more successful at work, to give me what I need, so I can tell my boss like the accommodation that I need, because I don't know.
Speaking of the accommodations, you talked about how your therapist helped you with that. So let's talk about like therapy, or
actually, and I'm not in therapy. I need to get back. So once my therapist had resigned, I had not sought any more therapy, which I know I needed, and he had resigned in August of 2021. But he was just someone that, really advocated for me. That's and so I was actually shocked when you had just sat there and said your primary care doctor was the one who prescribed.
Well, okay, pause. It was my, what was it? The nurse practitioner.
That is your primary care.
It's still your primary care physician.
Make sure that it ain't my MD. Okay, make sure,
but yes, from that office, yes.
Right, because the psychiatrist is the one
family medicine,
and the one who actually gives me the medication.
That's what
I found out why the lady my psychiatrist that diagnosed, she ended up leaving. Like, she wasn't shortly after she was gone. So I'm like, okay, you could have at least waited till the new one came in. Like, dang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, look, I forgot your question.
This therapy.
The guy. Yeah. So he was extremely, extremely helpful again, with helping me with accommodations, and me also being able to talk through a lot of things I'm trying to ask or advocate for.
Was he a therapist for ADHD, or is he your general?
Technically, he was actually a child psychologist, so a therapist for children.
But it makes sense because ADHD is a child diagnosis.
True, but I asked particularly, I wanted a African American psychiatrist and I wanted an African American therapist, and so they both were males, but that's what I had asked for, and so that's but with him also having his PhD, and I've had other therapists. He has been just the most phenomenal one in all, because he even helped me with accommodation when it came to schooling as well. Yeah. When I was working on my master's degree. So
Dang, who would have known what accommodation I would have had in high school, college?
I know. I think
it's literally like a self regret, and like I would be like, dang, life could be so like that's still like a hard thing to deal with. Like I could have been, not saying I wasn't great, but I could have been like great. Like who knows where I would be like now if I actually like not had the brain capacity to put forth the effort.
So when y'all, oh, go ahead.
No, it's kind of off subject. But remind me, and I cannot pronounce it, but your bachelor's in
kinesiology,
right? Did you know that has a lot that can play with ADHD?
Like your body.
Mm-hmm. So you're telling me move more?
No,
she's saying like you working in that field. Like that.
So right. So like, and a lot of people don't even realize this, and I've done so much research into it too. But even going to the chiropractor can actually help with those who have ADHD.
Yeah, the body.
There's actually a pediatrician. She's a pediatrician. She has her degree in that same thing you have yours in, but she has her either her master or PhD in clinical psychology, and she talks about helping those who have ADHD with using the techniques from that. Yes. So there's so many different forms. Like,
yeah,
and I know there's
it makes sense.
And I find a lot of people, a lot of support groups on like
Attitude.
Yes, but I meant like Facebook.
I love my Facebook groups. Where about them?
Okay, we're gonna come back to groups because that was my last thing. So,
wait, I didn't talk about that's what I'm asking. Oh yeah.
Yes, but I wanted to ask because you said you're not worried about getting your daughter tested for it, and you talked about how like it could have a stigma of them carrying it on. But also, you may have said it too, but you for sure said you wish you were diagnosed then. So, like,
yes.
But that's a difference. Like, you say you don't want her to have to be diagnosed. So
not then as in, no, then as in maybe she's 4. Then as in school level. Like, I'm not.
So you do want her to be diagnosed eventually?
Yes. I'm saying like right now, like she's not in school, so I don't care for her to.
That's why I was asking because you said want to carry on with them,
and like
Bernice said that,
and I was saying like me and my therapist, like the plan was like, okay, in school they have people that look out, like the people that be in the classroom, like looking at the kids and not like eyeing them, like they'll see like the behaviors, I guess, like
observations.
There we go. So I'm pretty sure like if I conceded. And because I know the signs, they would probably see something too similar. So then there'll be more eyes on it. So like, hey, maybe we should. So it's like I want to push now.
But I also look at it can be gifted as well. So like,
yes, a lot of gifted people are.
Was extremely smart, so young. That's why I always had thought maybe he had some autism going on. He was very smart, so young, and he would have certain characters, like he wanted to have a particular thing before we had to leave the house or something like that.
Or if you don't.
Yes,
that,
but he would know things that like the typical 5-year-old wouldn't know. And I'm like, why do you know those type of things? Yeah. So it can also be a gift. So I try to teach my kids it's not a bad thing. It literally is your super. You just think differently, and God
literally.
Yeah.
And I think what makes it hard is like literally there's like only like 5% of the population has ADHD. So I also kind of like more like ADHD people, any neurodivergent people, we flock together because we can understand
each other,
and that's crazy. Like when I like now my friend group, I like talk like, hey, do you have ADHD? Come to find yes. So now I'm like, okay, that I see. We have like minds.
So they move to like the support group, like you were talking about Facebook and other
But
things.
the biggest thing that I was looking for in a support group was people who look like me. And I didn't find it.
I feel like we're underdiagnosed.
Yes, especially in the African American culture or community, a lot of things were swept under the rug. Like you're okay, you're fine. It's like no, actually,
or boys will be boys. He's flipping off here. Girls,
and I hear a lot of my black girlfriends say, "I think I might have it." Well, please go get tested.
Yeah,
I think I only know 2 like friends. I think I have 2 friends that literally. And I'm pretty sure it's more, but only 2. But everybody suspects, after I'm talking about it, they suspect it. But come on, like, help yourself.
Yes. And I've had people, because I couldn't find anything on Facebook. They said, "Won't you create it?" And I'm like,
that's a lot of work.
I don't know how to do all this. And see, me, I'm not tech savvy.
And you're like still like learning
at all. I'm like, I don't know what to say or how to put that stuff on there. Like this.
So there's not a black ADHD group on Facebook?
No. Not that I've seen. And I've been one that's like a worldwide one, like people in the
or like what about physical support groups and things like that?
So I
Go
did
into those
attend,
things.
not none of them look like me, but I have attended ADHD support group. Financially, I couldn't keep up with it because it was like $50 a session. Every
Right.
time.
A session.
It was over
On top of going to
but it was like I think every Monday or something like that, and it was cool. It was okay. I was also trying to find other ways to have it funded because I financially couldn't afford it. But
that's
that was
the
the
thing, like
only.
stuff you needs to help you. It's always the stuff you need to help you, like therapy to make you better, expensive.
It is.
ADHD meds, you need it, expensive.
Yes.
Glasses and contacts, you need it, expensive. like we didn't ask for this,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I wish I had. I don't know, and I think I was telling you this, Marae, when I found out that Toria had got diagnosed. I was like, oh my God, my tribe. I felt like I wasn't alone, especially, and I'm like, man, it's a family member, so I'm cool. But it's like, man, finding someone who is like me, who looks like me, and have it, and I can share that. It's like, oh my gosh, because having friends that, for me, that doesn't understand it, it's like,
no
it's
matter how
always
much you tell them.
excuses.
See,
And I'm like, no,
yes.
I'm really trying. So I'm like, oh my God, it's my tribe. So I don't know. I do look at Facebook a lot.
Yeah, I do.
For a lot of,
because people
Especially
all the
when it
world
came
are
to
going all around the same thing. Like you're like, okay, well, I had this. Like you should be reading, like, okay, they know this, and I had a similar situation. Let me read they post, read their comments, and see, like, okay, like give you like advice of what to do in other situations.
So like what I learned on Facebook is that because I had to get up early, this person would take their meds at 4:30. They would
In the morning?
Yes, let me tell you. They would have their meds right next to their bed because I will forget. I ain't gonna lie. I will forget some days take it, some days I'll take it. And so they literally had their meds right next to their bed and some water. And because they had to get up at 5, they would literally have their alarm go off at 4:30, take their meds, and go back to sleep. So then by the time 5 o'clock came,
oh my God,
their body has already adjusted,
and so
they're ready.
and they don't have to hit snooze. They can just get. Oh my gosh! If only with
change the game.
But then I'm like, look,
Yes.
that's
But if only it is that simple.
well, I think my thing, I feel like, okay, I'm just working at home. I don't really need to do all that. I don't gotta do.
But I was sitting there telling you, literally, because our thing is we have to train our brain and trick our brain that we're somewhere else differently. So like when I sent you that thing,
yes,
and she was like, if you're gonna get up and do something, put your shoes on. I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense.
you know, you about to go out there, or I've now started. I leave my clothes, like my outside clothes.
Yes.
That makes a difference.
It does.
You can't. You have to be up and moving because you're uncomfortable. Like when you come home, you'll be comfortable with your.
That's me. So that would be probably the hardest thing for me.
But I feel like it would be
clothes.
It would be hard for me, but I can't take.
It's
my
better.
clothes
It
off.
makes it makes it more productive. It makes you more
Mhm.
productive.
Mhm.
Yes, because when I come in, the clothes have to come off. But if that would if that was.
But that's a lot of
competition,
planning. Because I'm gonna have to think about this. Oh,
Exactly.
When I get home, what do I gotta do? Let me see. So I
The
can plan it
getting
out.
up, yeah, no, for real.
But knowing me, I plan it at home, get home out of habit. Oh, I've been changing to my other clothes, and now I can't do it today. There's always tomorrow.
But, okay, so we're gonna talk about 2 more things. A little bit more about myths and comorbidity, and then they're gonna leave you with something they wish people with ADHD, without ADHD, would know about them.
Which one was the
You go first. You do
comorbidities. A lot of people with ADHD have is RSD, rejection sensitivity. It used to be disorder, but now it's dysphoria.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it is, to put it in, layman's terms. There we go. It's the heightened sensitivity towards our perception of rejection or criticism. So we will all the times get, you're overly sensitive.
Yes.
And it's just, I don't know how it works, but like I can know, like after talking to you, I can know you didn't mean anything by it. But like the initial response to what you have said, you can.
Well, you said I'm gonna like that. What?
Like when you try to be helpful and tell me things, it's not me.
Oh, so because I'm like sensitivity, huh? Okay.
It's a sensitivity to perceived my perception of rejection, or not rejection for me, more so criticism. Which then in turns, like, so you do that, and I'm like, so I'll just like have a strong emotional feelings towards something that someone is telling me, like get mad and just want to pop off real quick. And it also goes with the impulse control, lacking that. And so then that also turns into like people see us, our relationship struggle because they see us doing this, and then they want to push us away, which then in turn does turn into the actual rejection part of that. It's a whole circle. I'm just like, that's
so
crazy.
Speaking from someone that deals with that, we're sisters. We're like 3 years apart. So I'm a person who, especially in family, I feel like if I can tell you something, I can tell you something constructively, I can tell her something, I can say it to my mom. Like, I'm not, no one's exempt from, and not saying that I'm the only person who knows something, because you can tell me something too. But I'm trying to tell you something that's helpful, or like, hey, this, like, you treat this person wrong or something like that. Like, I feel like right is right, and I say it from a place of, I want people to be right. Do the right thing, and I want me to do the right thing as well. So if I'm doing something wrong, tell me too. And so when I tell certain things that I feel like I've been wronged or something like that, or like, you did not need to cuss that person. I mean, not cuss that, but yeah, cuss that person out like that, and then she'll be like, well, no, or no, she'll actually be like, I know, but sometimes she's okay. And she's okay with. Sometimes she's okay with the action, but for me, I'm like, I said it out of love, like I said it, but she doesn't want to hear the criticism of it.
But it's not. It's literally like an initial thing, and also I see, and well, more so like see being because it's like messages. So I think hearing it makes a difference than me seeing it, because when I put my own little words, like I perceive it differently than you said it.
Yes, you don't see it the way I see it. And a lot of things, generally, we're not the same person. We have different personalities, so you're not gonna
Me and her don't see the same way.
things. Maybe, and you might, but just know I'm always for you, never against you. So it's the saying like don't assume the best in people. Like always assume the best intention, unless you have a reason to not assume that someone did something with the best intention. Okay, guys, as you can see, we have a lot we're talking about with ADHD, so I'm going to just pause this right here, and we're going to move it to a part 2 in another video.
Lion King 1.5.
1.5. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell that's right next to the subscribe button, so you're notified every single time I post a video. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye.
Peace up. 8 down.